Hello, everyone. Welcome. We're just giving everybody a few minutes to join, and then we'll begin at the top of the hour. Excellent. It is 2 p.m. where I am, 11 a.m. UTC. So good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you're all dialing in from. Great to see you back for day 2. Lots of familiar names in the attendees list from yesterday. Great to see you back. If you're joining us for the first time, please, you're very welcome. Thanks for joining us. A few housekeeping things. Today, most of you have access to this page, which is on the website, the agenda schedule. Just a quick reminder that for each and every session, you'll need to click through. For example, this session is a adopter update from Thitsaworks, and that will bring you to this page. So when you get on this page, most of you probably are already on this page by clicking join meeting. Thank you so much for joining us here. Please feel free to use the chat for any questions, any comments, any conversations. We'll have some of our panelists checking in on the chat there and responding to your questions. That would be great. And then one final thing, if you click on the daily open discussions tab at the top menu, you will see a space. Actually, I'm just going to click it again so that you're able to see what I should see. You will see a list of topics that you can suggest for our end of day discussions that start from 4 p.m. to 4:30 p.m. UTC. We had 2 great sessions yesterday. If you have any topics or any ideas of conversations you would like to have Barcamp style, please go ahead and add your add a response here. We have 2. The Visa MMD session was moved to today, and we've got a great announcement from Mojaloop session, and I'll pass it over to Paula to talk about that and a few other things, and then we will move straight on to our adopter session led by Steve and team. Paula.
Great, thanks, Simeon, and welcome everyone. Thanks for joining today. I look forward to another productive session or set of sessions. Just a quick note on the daily open discussions. The first topic that was added for today was a technical update from Visa and MMD teams about how they made Mojaloop work for them. Steve Haley has assured me that there's time in his opening session on adopters to discuss this topic. So, and there will be extra time at the end of that session for Q&A. So we won't do that breakout session at the end of the day. We will just incorporate that into Steve and team's presentation. The second topic, RTPlex, also known as Payment Manager, is a tool that Modusbox has developed, and they have some exciting news about that that tool, and would encourage you to join that breakout session so that you can learn a little bit more about Payment Manager project. So back to you, Simeon. Everyone have a great day.
Thanks, Paula. I'll pass it back to Steve. Welcome, Steve. Steve, you there?
Steve looks as if he might be frozen.
Yeah, I think we just lost Steve. We'll wait for him to come back. Joining this session, we also have me and Thin and a few other people. Perhaps we can start with introductions. Me and Thin.
Sure, Simon, thank you so much. So Steve, you're here. We were just about to introduce ourselves while we are waiting for you. Should we do that, or should we let you kick off?
Sure, I'll go ahead and kick off and then I'll introduce you. Thanks, and sorry about that. We had just had a power outage. All right, let me go ahead and share my screen if I can. Okay, so in this session, we are going to focus most of it on MMD, but I do want to leave the floor open later on to talk about our Visa project. So I will just give the teaser right now. The Visa project we're working on is to do cross-border remittances directly from Visa Direct using an alias service that is integrated into Visa's own alias service. It's been a very exciting project. We're looking at initially a corridor just to test in between Singapore and the Philippines. But the more interesting thing is the global connections into Visa's APIs. So hopefully there'll be time. So there'll be time for people to ask questions about that at the end, and we'll let you know the progress of it. So the majority of this, though, we'd like to talk about the Myanmar MFI digitization project, and I'm super thrilled that the people leading that today are going to be our partners, the hub operator and owner of, or let's say, hub operator of the Myanmar MFI digitization platform, MMD, we call it, which is Thitsaworks, a Myanmar-based fintech. First, they're going to go through a little bit about the background of the project, what it's intended to do, and then Ni, the CEO, is going to talk about that, and then Tin, the CTO, is going to lead us on a discussion of some of the major inputs that MMD has been able to give to the, or is hoping to give to the community, some upgrades that we've had to work through, and she's going to get a little bit of help from the team working on those, and James and Paul. So with that, I would like to introduce Ni, CEO of Thitsaworks and operator of MMD. Ni, floor is yours.
Thank you, Steve. If you can go to the next slide, I think we can. Yeah, next slide, please. A lot of text. Apologize for that. I've been yelled at by then that it's too much text. But I want to give you background about MMD, which I'm sure you will not go into too much details, but wanted to tell you our vision and where we want to go, and also the challenges and opportunities that we are seeing with the project. Right now, we are going through a very, very difficult time in Myanmar, as you probably have been seeing in the news. It's like the most challenging times of my lifetime, and also at the same time we are implementing this very exciting project. So it's a mixed feeling that we are having right now. The project started a while back, but we are in full swing right now. The project is led by UNCDF, Motorsports, and Thitsaworks as the project lead, and with Thitsaworks has been designated as the hub operator. We are very honored to be a part of this exciting project. But as with this kind of project, we wanted to have a focus scope at the beginning to make sure that we can deliver the use cases that we want to deliver with the right approach. So we focus on MFI sector, right, as the first adopters for this platform, and we are focusing on two use cases that are targeted for the MFIs: the loan repayment and the loan disbursement. But we are also looking at the ECT, electronic cash transfer, as the next use case, right, to start. Currently, right now, because of the political situations that we have, a lot of the plans that we had to be on hold regarding the ECT, but we are definitely looking at how the INGOs and the CSOs, right, can use the ECT to reach out to the beneficiaries, and I will talk more about that in the opportunity section. But there are also a lot of other exciting use cases on the roadmap to digitalize payments, for the industry, for the country, and we are looking forward to reaching those use cases on the roadmap. Currently, there are a lot of excitements around this platform 14 MFIs have signed up for the letter of with the letter of intent, right, to commit to the project, and we are happy with that because they represent 2.2 million borrowers, or about 40% of the market. So about 4 in 10 borrowers in Myanmar will be using this platform to repay the loans and getting their loan disbursement through the wallets, and which is going to be a major breakthrough, and we are happy with that. So we also have other major mobile wallet providers getting on board. Apart from some very large mobile wallet providers, which we understand as going to be something not as the first taker, right? Clearly this is something that the interoperability is something that those wallets who dominate the market, right, may not be considered as a priority, right? Clearly we understand that. There are a lot of challenges that we are going through right now. Political situations being one. COVID-19 is currently something of a major concern in the country right now. Currently, we are in the second week of lockdown, for example. So a lot of the DFSBs that we have been working with have either stopped operating for this week, or their IT teams have have staff members who have COVID positive cases. So we are looking at the disruptions in the work that we do. I don't have to go into too much details about the political situation, but there are a lot of disruptions in the political, regulatory, and economic environments that we have to face. But from the product standpoint, from the business commercial standpoint, we are pushing ahead so that when the environment is right, conducive, then we can start this project. So one of the major challenges that we see is that the confidence in the financial system has been shaken again because of the political situation. But we are also looking at that from the positive side as well. As people are more concerned with the formal financial systems and cash, there is also an uptake on the digital payments. We are seeing that as an opportunity. There are already people who have not used mobile wallets in the past, but started using the wallets now, right, for their daily transactions, and we see that it will happen more and more. And we also see in the MFI industries that they are rapidly digitizing. Core banking systems are being implemented, the right kind of core banking system with a cloud-based, open APIs. Right? So we are seeing that more and more, and there are a lot of MFIs who are looking at the digital payments as the means of collecting repayments and disbursement, because of the necessity. Right? They cannot travel to collect payments, and they cannot also rely on cash. So they are looking at digital payment as a means, right, to address the situation. We are also fortunate that our MFIs in Myanmar have experience working on industry collaborative projects, and one such project is a project called MCIX, which is a data sharing platform, again also managed by Thitsaworks in partnership with Myanmar Microfinance Association. But we are seeing that kind of industry collaboration can also help jumpstart this platform, and also give us the vision to take it to the the next phase of the project. I will leave that at this stage. If there's any one with any questions on the challenges we're going through as a HEP operator, and how we are working towards addressing mitigating the risk, please reach out to me. I'd be happy to have more conversations with that. Steve, next slide, please. Steve, do you want to, you popped up, do you want to say something?
I was just going to say something a lot of people always ask us is when we talk about loan repayments, a lot of people say, well, most mobile money treats it like a bill payment. So what do we really need Mojib for? And I think it's important to remember we're talking about loan repayments and disbursements. And so that's why the two-directional requirement is something that is very new that we don't think anyone has tried before. I mean, I think you said it, but worth mentioning for those who have done loan repayments before as treating it as a bill payment. That's all I want to say. Thanks.
Right. Yeah, clearly. I think, we just want to get this, started. And once the platform is ready, I think there are, other exciting use cases that, we probably don't know right now, but I mean, especially in Myanmar, I've seen where once the platform is there, I think opportunities will arise where people will think of how best to use it. So I'm confident that we will identify additional use cases. So I think this is the exciting part, right? So I want to introduce Then, who's the CTO. I will let her introduce herself, and the areas that we want to focus on is on the technology progress, and there's many different things that we can talk about, but then has selected 4 areas that we consider important and exciting in terms of the progress and also the challenges, right, to share with the community. Then I will give the floor to you. Thank you.
Hi all. My name is Tân Nguyen, and I'm the co-founder and CTO of Thitsaworks. As we are gearing towards becoming a hub operator with Modusbox as the technology provider, would like to provide some update on the progress we've all made. And we're categorizing them in 4 buckets, like the development of ALS oracles, the onboarding efforts, the effort towards becoming hub operations, all the documentations, processes surrounding settlement and dispute, and also the infrastructure itself. In the upcoming slides, we plan to deep dive into each category and present some challenges we face and how MBX team will explain how they've worked on overcoming these. In Myanmar, there are about 188 MFIs. And as we have this data sharing platform that Goni mentioned, we call it MCIX, we see that there are borrowers who have more than 1 loans. So we would like to present some of the scenarios that we face and in these categories in detail. Next slide, please. Hi, Steve. Yeah, so if we go to the first category, that's the ALS oracles. As I mentioned before, we've observed that majority of the things that we see is there are 1 borrower to many microfinance institutions. With what we mean by it is that 1 borrower borrowing from multiple MFIs. It's a common thing in our country, Myanmar. And also there's this problem of 1 MSISDN phone number registered at multiple wallet providers. Why are these problems? Because 1 borrower having loans from multiple MFIs, the issue is that in the event of repayment, they need to identify which MFI they want to repay to. So there is a need for identifying which MFI to route this payment to. And there's also having 1 phone number to multiple wallets present another challenge, that's to identify which wallet to disperse the money to, because 1 number can be registered with multiple MFI. So here we say like Linda can be registered to multiple wallets with the same ID. It's also very common in our country. And of all these one-to-many issues, and the thing is, we don't have a central registries for account numbers or the MFI. So to identify which MFI to route the repayment to or which wallet to route the disbursement to has become one of the things that we need to tackle in this implementation. And I would like to hand off to James for a more detailed explanation as to how we've addressed these. Hi, James.
Thank you, Thin. Okay, the modular implementations that Modusbox have worked on in the past have used Pathfinder as a way of resolving the MNO operated wallet that a particular MSISDN phone number relates to, and there was a 1-to-1 mapping. In Myanmar, we have this situation with multiple over-the-top style wallet providers. we had to design a new ALS oracle to behave in a slightly different way to the existing ALS oracles, in that when the party lookup is performed, rather than the oracle having some foreknowledge of which DFSP in the scheme to route that request to, the ALS now broadcasts that request to one or more DFSPs registered within that oracle as potential wallet providers. So the get parties request gets forwarded to several recipient DFSPs. If they own a wallet related to that MSISDN, then they respond with the normal modulo put parties response, which the ALS forwards back onto the payer DFSP. There's a complication at the payer side, because the payer now has to expect multiple responses, multiple put parties responses. So how do we deal with that? Well, what we've done is we've implemented a waiting period where the payer DFSP will wait for one or more responses, and after that certain timeout period, a list of choices will be presented to the user to make a decision as to which wallet they want to send the payment to. The FSP ID of the positive responses gets passed on and either translated through a lookup list, where we turn the FSP ID into a human readable string that maybe represents the common shared business name of the wallet provider, and the user makes a choice through their user interface. That does work, but it does expose a potential issue. There's still a bit of an open problem, really, and we'd be interested in opinions as to how to solve this. But if anybody in the scheme can send a get parties request for a MUSDN and receive a number of responses, it's quite easy for a bad actor to work out which wallet providers a particular customer belongs to, and that could be considered a leakage of sensitive information. It might be sensitive business information, in that one wallet provider could work out which other wallets one of their customers might have, and it could be commercially sensitive. So that's one possible issue that we still have to work through. The issue of having one borrower with multiple accounts across multiple MFIs and multiple wallets at the same time led us to think about the use of an alias. And the use of an alias has come up on other projects. People familiar with the TIPS project will know that an alias oracle was discussed there. But in this project, we've implemented an alias oracle that's going to be part of the open source code base. And that allows a simple string alias to be mapped to any underlying account type identifier and value at any DFSP in the scheme. And that allows the scheme to shift the focus from paying to a particular account to paying to something more central to the identity themselves, to the individual, which we think is going to have longer lasting benefits in the scheme, that people will be able to have one or more easy to remember, easy to share identifiers that they can pass around, that mean they can think about them being paid as an individual rather than payments between certain accounts. The issue with number spaces of MFI loans came up for us as well, and this was quite tricky. That many of the MFIs in Myanmar use one of a few off-the-shelf core banking systems, and the number space from which their loan account numbers come is the same. So they clash, they collide quite frequently. So to solve this problem, we introduced a prefixing system. So an MFI has a scheme-wide prefix, in this case a 3-digit prefix, but in theory it could be any combination of characters to identify that particular MFI. So we've got an open source prefix oracle, which allows a set of prefixes to be maintained and their mappings to underlying DFSPs. So when a borrower is about to make a repayment through their wallet interface, when they enter their loan account, they enter a 3-digit prefix which identifies the MFI. And that's all being donated to the open source code base. I'm just making sure I haven't missed anything on that slide. Yeah, okay, thanks, Steve. Next slide. Okay, Finn, back over to you, I think.
Okay, thanks. So onboarding, this is the next category that we've made significant progress on, is that there's a payment manager product that Mojaloop has, Modusbox has developed, and that's the kind of the middleware piece between the core banking systems and the hub. So when we're onboarding them, and we've experienced quite a few things, we've come across some of the things that we need to sort it out. The major thing that we see is that when we're implementing on the API level, majority of the APIs, as we feel, is geared towards peer-to-peer. So payment repay generally is like we want to repay X amount of money to the destination phone number, and that's just pretty straightforward. In the use cases that we are trying to develop in this Myanmar context, we're using the loan disbursement, loan repayment, and also saving deposits and withdrawal. In Myanmar, we have this sort of compulsory saving concept where when somebody takes a loan, they generally have to have a compulsory saving account, and they either repay it with a loan repayment, bundled it up together, or pay 2 repayments at the same time, or they can just repay separately. But they are supposed to put some money down in their compulsory saving as well. So these are some use cases that we're targeting. As with this loan repayment, we will need to tell users how much they owe, so that some user knows about it, some borrowers know about it, some won't know about it. So we want to give them, this is the confirmation. So generally, in the regular peer-to-peer payment, it would be like, here's the amount, here's the destination, and then the name will come up, confirm this is my account and pay, or the destination, the person I want to pay, and then it's very simple. Here though, we want to show more information than just sending the money. We want to show, if you can see in the screenshot, we want to show the MFI, the account number, just to verify that they are paying to the correct MFI. So in the previous slide, we've explained that one borrower can have multiple loans from different places, and majority of them have 2 loans or more. So here, if as a borrower, I have like taken out 3 loans from 2 different MFIs, and when I'm trying to pay back, I want to make sure that I'm paying back to the correct intended MFI. So there is a need for reflecting the information back after I enter my account information, the prefix and account number that James just explained. So we have to show the name, the MFI names, just to verify the due amount. It's helpful to the user to know how much amount they should put in or repay in the repayment case. So there is a need for showing more information, not just, that's a huge difference from just peer-to-peer payment context. And here, there is one other challenge we face, is that as we reflect the name and MFI name back, in Myanmar particularly, the names are, depending on the MFI, they can store name in Burmese language, Myanmar language, or they can store it in English. So some MFI just store English names, spelling in English, and some store in the native language Myanmar spelling. So the thing is, for English spelling, they can spell differently based on the sound and the person who is entering the information into the MFI system. So people cannot recognize their name very easily or even memorize it. The thing is, we want to make sure that this is their account and they have to have a confirmation. So that's why we need to show like MFI name and additional, if we can show branch and so on, to make sure that they are repaying to the correct loan. So we need to reflect a bit more information than just peer-to-peer payment. That's the difference between regular modular loop setup and the use case that we are implementing in Myanmar. And then as we are onboarding, the second piece is the complexity of different core banking systems. As Thitsaworks, we've been working with 75 MFIs in the market in Myanmar on different things, like on their day-to-day operation for core banking support system, and also the data sharing platform that we have developed. So we get to work with different core banking systems, are exposed to different operation processes and different types of resources. MFI in general, we can categorize like different MFIs. Some MFIs have a very strong internal IT team that they do development work themselves, some sort of very flexible capacity there. Some MFIs are using out of the box core banking systems, and there isn't much leeway for fixing the system or to adapt it. And some has a middleware, and that middleware can be outsourced or in-house. And the thing is, MFIs are very price sensitive. So to make some changes in the core banking or even the middleware system, if it's supported by vendor, they're very price conscious about that. So majority of the time, we try to make it work or make a lot of customization in this payment manager middleware piece that the Modus Boxes has implemented. We can do some customization and implementation about reformatting and things like that. However, there are certain limits on how much we can customize in the core banking system. So we can give you a few examples of some of the challenges because of the rigidity of the systems from both sides of things, like Hub and the core banking system is like this two-phase commit issue, rounding issue, and literacy issues. So literacy issues, we just talked about it, meaning that people reading their names may not be so apparent to them because of the different spelling in different core banking systems. And when they read it, they may not notice their correct spelling or name to verify it clearly. So we're thinking out like, okay, should we have additional piece of information for confirmation, not just use the account number alone, perhaps use the phone number, national card number, some other additional piece of information. So when we explore that route, there are some people, core banking, they will allow searching by phone number, loan information. Some won't have that such flexibility. And we need to now figure out like, okay, can they expose phone number then? We can match it in a payment manager, things like that. So there are certain things that we face in terms of having to customize on the core banking system or not, and based on that we have to implement a solution that will be applicable to all the core banking systems. One of the examples, for example, two-phase commit, there is a challenge as well in the modular out of the box APIs. There is like in the transfer phase, there are two steps. One step is for validation, internal checking, and everything works out fine. Only then the last piece you transfer, and then the hub will confirm it's transferred and then send notification out to both parties, the sender and the payee. The issue there is that if core banking systems generally wouldn't have such two steps, like two endpoints exposed, one for whether the payment is acceptable or not. Let's say some MFIs may not want to have overpayment. They need exact payment, for example. Some may not accept partial payment based on their different business operation logic. They may reject or build some rules in there to reject or accept it. But if we do it, they don't have such separate endpoints just to do the validation. Generally, in their core banking system, in a function or so, they would just be validating, and then if it's validation passed, they would just go ahead and post the payment right there. So there is no clean two steps process, and the issue is, at what point should we let the core banking adjust the money, which put transfer or post transfer? These are the types that we have to consider, because should we post it prematurely? Should we post it after? What if it fails? So there are certain issues that we're facing because of the lack of two-phase commit process in the core banking system, and majority of them are behaving that way. They don't have a separate endpoint generally for just checking whether a payment will be successful or not. The second thing is the rounding issue. Rounding issue is like in a regular peer-to-peer payment, you can pay whatever amount, send, pay, and the money gets sent. Here, based on the different loan products, they can configure the loan products and the repayment be like a multiple of, say, 1,000. So even though you post 150, it wouldn't make it to the core banking system because they weren't expecting 150. They're expecting a multiple of 1,000. So in a cash-based system, it's very easy. The person who's taking the money can count, and if it's not there, they can just sort it out and enter. But here, it's a real-time clearing system payment, so that we have to address that rounding issue as well. Otherwise, either reject it, but then they don't have an inherent rejecting mechanism, then maybe payment manager has to intervene, or a scheme has to set some rules. So there are certain things that we face as we onboard different MFIs. There are different systems in the player, in the market. They have Membu, Musoni, Mifos, FlexTube. Based on each vendor, based on their practices, some are very flexible, some are not. Some has an in-house, very flexible, some are not. And even on the wallet side as well, they have middleware or not, whether a vendor is involved or not. That has a lot of implications in the onboarding process. Some of these challenges have been resolved, and I will again seek help from James for explaining that. James?
Thank you, Thin. Next slide, please, Steve. Thank you. I'm conscious that we haven't got a vast amount of time left, so I'm going to go as quickly as I can. Okay, so as Thin mentioned, some of the use cases we're implementing need more contextual information than the base fields in the API have been intended to cover. So we're doing things like using extension lists to carry the use case specific metadata, like the due dates for loan repayments, the installment amounts, the overall balance outstanding on loans. But this does raise some issues with privacy, because there are a couple of scenarios where users can enter random loan numbers and receive the details of outstanding balances and due dates on any loan account. So I was interested to hear something that was mentioned yesterday about catching people doing bad behaviors through the API. So there's a potential for collaboration there. But these are issues that we haven't solved yet. We still have some open problems on these directory harvesting style attacks that we need to address. Well, as you heard from Thin, integrating banking cores with the Moja API is complex. We are leveraging the payment manager technology that Modusbox has developed. Announcement pending. Please come to the session later on today to hear all about that. We've done some pretty good successful implementations so far with MeFos, Mambu, Finflux, and we're pretty far along with some of the proprietary backend systems of wallet providers in Myanmar as well. As Stin mentioned, the two-phase commit problem with core banking systems not supporting that. We're exploring and have some implementations that that push that problem into the core connector component of the payment manager, which is like the glue layer, using Apache Camel. So we can be flexible depending on the back end that we face at any point in time. But the development of those flows to decide where we put the financial risk at the various stages of the transfer, that's been an interesting process. One idea that we're considering, potentially crazy, is you know, if a one-phase commit succeeds and then the switch rejects a transfer after we've done that, well, how do we make that not a reconciliation problem for somebody? Well, we can do an automatic reversal in the opposite direction. But again, there are some open problems in this space that will need to be addressed before this is ready for the big time. So we're looking for some collaboration, some help with thinking about those and how we might solve them. Thanks very much. Over to Finn again, I think, for the next slide.
Yes, hi. So the third thing is the operations, hub operations. So as we're aiming for multilateral net position, net settlement, here we have different settlement, single or multiple settlement banks. But as a hub operator, as the settlement process starts, we need reports for settlement and also adding and withdrawing funds from their liquidity accounts so that the net debit cap can be reflected properly. So there are some, currently Mojaloop, we couldn't find these user-friendly things for the hub operators to be able to do such reports and adding, withdrawing funds. So we've, ModusBox has implemented quite a few features there, and I'll pass it to Paul for further explanation. Paul?
Thanks, Finn. Yeah, we've done a huge amount of work on the M&D project on the questions of settlement and liquidity management. With the problems around Myanmar that have already been discussed a couple of times, we recognized early on that we couldn't do conventional settlement via the central bank or anything like that. So we're doing settlement via commercial banks. With a very interesting set of problems that have now been supported by the developments around the finance portal. So with the two diagrams there, on the left-hand side, you can see that's essentially our launch proposition, with liquidity accounts being held at the settlement bank and those liquidity accounts being used during settlement in a relatively simple process, moving funds, net position funds into a central settlement account for net debtors, and then removing them from there back to the net creditor accounts as the final step. The results being that the settlement account itself at the end of settlement has a net zero balance. And as there is then a separate process where we adjust the liquidity account balances within the hub immediately that the balance changes. There's a whole set of processes we've designed around that, which are not integrated into the technology. It's the business processes around settlement, which, as I was saying yesterday, are always equally as important as the technology itself. The right-hand picture is our next development here, where we move to multiple settlement banks, essentially virtualizing settlements across multiple banks with an interbank settlement balancing process, which may happen once every few settlement windows. It's a more sophisticated model, but it's perfectly doable, and it is supported by the new finance portal. Can we go to the next slide, James? And I apologize for rushing. I'm just very conscious of the lack of time here. So to summarize what we've done, we've developed a set of processes coordinating the activities of the hub operator and the settlement bank. we are going to move to an integrated approach in a later phase. So we're starting off manual. We'll go to an API-based implementation quite soon. We're trying to virtualize settlements across multiple banks, as I've already said. This means that this has the benefit that we can essentially manage risk across multiple banks. We're not reliant on one particular bank. And if we get the allocation of DFSPs to settlement banks correct, and even have multiple accounts across both settlement accounts, then we can actually limit or even potentially eliminate, except over a few settlement cycles, the need to actually settle between banks, which would be a huge advantage. As we develop that deeper understanding of the DFSP settlement responsibilities, we've actually come to understand that we have to separate settlement management and liquidity management. So liquidity started out as part of the settlement processes, but we now recognize that actually it's all about participants' life cycle. And we are very sensitive to the issues that arise around liquidity changes within the settlement bank activity that may be undertaken by the participants independently. Ideally, we'd like to have had some more control over that because of the risks associated with it. But of course, we can't actually do that because, like it or not, the money is actually the participants, not the hubs. So we have to give them control over it. The experiences we've had in this are simply influencing the emerging business operations framework. I think that's another net benefit of the work we've been doing with MMD. We understand much more what is necessary in order to support the settlement process, liquidity management, and the participant life cycles. So I think, Finn, that's back to you.
And you guys, we've got about 5 more minutes. So I'm going to give you 2 minutes for this last section, unfortunately. I know this wants to jump right into infrastructure. Tim, did you have something you want to say, or you want to have James take it over? Okay. Yeah. James, real quick, I'll give you 2 minutes on infrastructure on IAS.
Okay, so some of you might be aware there was a donation of some IAC code from Modusbox to the Mojolip community some time ago. That code is being iterated in the MMD project. We've got some pretty ambitious target dates for go live and some interim milestones along the way. So we need to be iterating what we're doing very, very quickly. We're relying heavily on CI and automated deployment pipelines to spin up new instances of infrastructure. We need to be constantly redeploying new versions of ALS oracles as we've been developing those. There's some complexity that we've hit with running Mojolip Golden Path when we've got different oracles registered for handling MSISDNs, for example. So we've had to overcome some of those issues. We've improved the reliability of the systems that get deployed by the IAC. We've worked a lot on our developer workflow using various tools like a GitLab pipeline to run a step-by-step deployment of the infrastructure and the application layer components into that infrastructure. This means we can iterate much faster. We've also, as I mentioned before, heavily leveraged the payment manager technology. We have IAC code developed that allows us to deploy new instances of payment manager into a software as a service type hosting model. And we spent an awful lot of time working on that onboarding process to the point where we're onboarding new core banking systems within the space of a week or so at the moment. The last one that we've been working on has taken about a week to get us to the point of proving a transaction from one end to the other. Okay, that's all I have to say. Thank you very much.
Thanks, James. Nia, if you could come back as well. I know we only got 2 minutes left, but I just want to say sorry for everyone. We took a lot longer than we were expecting to, but I think that's a testament to the fact that we're hoping to get a little bit more time next week. We've done a lot of work on MMD that because we actually have a live system here. And I think hopefully maybe we can work with the organizers to get a little bit more time next time to take through all of our progress that we're making on all of our PIs, because we are hoping to contribute all this back, but we are running into a lot of problems and challenges as we try to go live with this. And the more community contribution we can get back to that would be very, very helpful. So appreciate your time. Sorry we didn't get to talk about Visa. You can all find me on Slack and ask questions there. If there's a lot, I will set up a channel for them. Nee, I will give you the last word, unless we have questions come up.
Thank you, Steve. In the remaining 1 minute, I would just thank the community and all the participants here. We've been helped by many people. I want to mention one particular name, Jeffrey. Also has been sharing information about the experience from other areas with us. I want to also thank the community for different things, and we are looking forward to actually having this platform live. Thank you, Steve.
Thank you all.
Simeon.
Yeah. All wrapped up, Steve? Awesome. Thanks for that session. We will see you all over in the next session, Overlay Services with Lewis and JJ. See you all in the next session. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.